When most people think about charisma, they picture someone who is loud, confident, and just socially dominant. Someone walks into a room and immediately takes up space. Now, for a long time, that was my definition too. I thought charisma was about being comfortable talking a lot, having presence through volume, and always knowing what to say. But when I look back at it, the most charismatic people I have ever met were nothing like that. There's one person in particular that made this really click for me. I won't name them, but they were not loud, not flashy, and not trying to stand out. In group settings, they often spoke less than everybody else. But when they did speak, people paid attention. So they didn't have to demand it. They just shifted the room in some kind of way. People leaned in emotionally when they wanted to speak. And I remember thinking, what is this person doing differently than everybody else? Because it clearly was not just confidence in the way most people describe it. That was when I started to understand the difference between confidence and actual charisma. So confidence is how you feel on the inside. Charisma is about how other people feel around you. So you can be confident and still make people feel very tense around you. You can be confident and still dominate conversations. You can be confident and still make others feel invisible around you. So charisma works very differently. The person I'm thinking about made people feel included without ever trying to impress anyone. When someone spoke, they stayed with what was being said. They didn't rush to respond. They didn't interrupt with a better story. They actually listened and responded to the moment that was actually happening. And because of that, people felt seen. Another thing that I noticed was their energy. They were calm. They were steady. They were relaxed. They didn't rush the conversation. They didn't try to fill a space. They were comfortable letting moments breathe. And that made everyone else feel more relaxed too. Because people tend to mirror energy without realizing it. And when someone regulates themselves very well, others feel safe doing the same. And that is a huge part of a charisma that rarely gets talked about. They also didn't try to control the interaction. They weren't steering conversations to prove anything or impress. They weren't trying to land better jokes or deliver better lines. They were just present. And presence has actual weight in communication. When someone speaks from presence, people trust it. They feel it. That is why even the quiet people can feel incredibly charismatic. It has nothing to do with how much they talk. It has everything to do with how people feel when they talk to you. So this is where a lot of people get stuck. They think charisma is something that you're born with or not. They think it is a personality trait. But it's really just a set of learned behaviors and awarenesses that, like everything else, that can be practiced, like confidence. Charismatic people consistently make others feel included. They respond instead of react. They listen without just interrupting. They allow conversations to be shared spaces instead of performances. And if you want to become charismatic, the shift is not about becoming someone else. It is about changing where your attention goes. So instead of focusing on how you are coming across, you focus on the experience you're creating for everybody else. So you start paying attention to whether the person feels comfortable speaking. You notice when someone is trying to contribute and you give them space. For example, you notice when someone is trying to say something, but everybody else is just talking over them, interrupting them. So you stop everybody and say to that person, what were you trying to say? You give them a chance to speak. You give them the space to say their mind. That alone changes how people experience you. So when people feel heard, they feel respected. When they feel respected, they feel seen. And when they feel safe, they stay connected. I've never been the loudest person in the room. I've never been the one who always talks the most or always have something funny ready. And when I first started working on my communication skills, I thought that was going to be a massive problem. I thought charisma meant being more talkative, quicker, more entertaining. So I tried that for a while and it never felt right. I always struggled. I was always nervous and I always sat there overthinking every single thing that I wanted to say. What actually changed things for me in communication was realizing that I didn't need to add more to conversations. I just needed to stay with the other person longer. Because there were moments where people stopped and asked me what I was going to say. When someone interrupted me or didn't give me the chance to speak. And those people instantly felt more safe to talk to because they included me. They saw me and actually wanted to hear my opinion. So when someone talked, I stopped thinking about what I should say next. I stayed with what they were saying instead. I let them finish their thought and I followed up on what mattered to them. Not what I thought would sound good. And that is charisma. People opened up more around me. They talked longer. They shared things they didn't usually share to others. Now, I didn't feel charismatic at the moment, but I noticed people kept coming back to me, talk to me, because they felt comfortable doing so. And that is what charisma actually is. It wasn't about being interesting or perfect. It wasn't just making other people feel safe and heard and understood enough to be themselves around me. And that is what charisma is. I'm saying it again. It's not about being impressive. It is about just being someone others feel good being around. So if you start there, everything else falls into place naturally. And that is, again, what charisma is. It is just about making the other person feel heard and understood around you. It is about creating a safe space where they can actually feel like their opinion matters. So if you want to become charismatic, if you want to become likable, if you want to be someone that people naturally tend to be drawn to, then you have to make them feel heard. You have to make them feel understood. And you do that by responding to their emotion and not just what you think is the best thing to say. You do that by actually listening to their problems instead of just speaking your mind, interrupting them and talking over everybody else. You want to make them feel heard, and that is charisma. And this is the biggest change that I made for myself. Because as I said, I never was the loudest person in the room. And I struggled with always having things to say and realizing that if I wanted to become charismatic, I just had to listen more. That is really what it is. I just had to listen more, ask questions that made people feel open, safe, and actually go deeper into their problems or their scenario, their story, their expectations, their situation. And that is how I became more charismatic. If this resonated, I post videos like this every single week, helping you improve your communication skills with tips and tricks and shifts and mindset and everything like that, helping you become more confident, charismatic, and just a more likable person so you can actually speak your mind in any situation. So subscribe and see you in the next video. Bye bye.